The Coach and the Casual back in Las Vegas. We have some of our favorite fighters. We're excited to talk to the one and only Mackenzie Dern. I'm a huge fan, especially coming from a grappling background. The Coach and the Casual is not even sure what her background is. So let's get into this right away.
Boom. Well, I'll tell you what, Mackenzie, we are excited to have you. We've had a lot of guests, some we've really liked.
He doesn't even know. He's bullshitting.
Well, I'm telling you, we've had a lot of guests, but for me, I'm so honored to have somebody that's so obviously a jiu-jitsu specialist. You know what I mean?
My God.
For me, it was when you came in, I knew that's a jiu-jitsu girl right there.
What belt are you?
Yeah, black belt.
Black belt, right?
Yeah,
and you've been a black belt for like 10 years?
Yeah, exactly.
10 years black belt?
Yeah, almost. I got my black belt in 2012. So yeah, 10 years.
And you're like
that's
20.
That makes it
That's
feel
12
older.
years.
One of the youngest female black belts, right?
Yeah,
How old were you?
Yeah, 19.
19.
Has it been? So you've been in the spotlight for most of your life. What I always say with a lot of these fighters is that most of them, they train their whole life fighting and they're not in the spotlight at all. And then all of a sudden they're just pushing to the spotlight. But for you, you've been in the spotlight. You've had to live in as a celebrity for a long time. Has that made it harder or easier for you to be a fighter because so many people know you?
Yeah, I feel like it puts more pressure on you. I feel like, as me in my whole life, I've kind of been good with I put pressure on myself, but not from other people.
Yeah.
Just kind of like more focused on what my dad thinks and my whole life growing up because he was my coach my whole life. So I felt like, okay, when I got into MMA, I'm like fighting and I was like the next Ronda Rousey and I haven't even been like punched in the face before, so it's just like a lot of, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, everyone's expecting so much and just, it's a learning process, like I got my black belt at 19, but I started training with 3 when I was 3 years old, so that's a long time,
So
it seems fast, but it's long time.
I've got a daughter who's 7. If I started training right now, she'd get her ass whipped because you started at 3. That's crazy.
Nah, but
how do you even train a 3-year-old?
Well, so I started with my daughter. I have a 4-year-old. And, I took from the Gracie family. You throw them up.
Yes.
And if they respond well to it, that means they're ready to train. And if they're scared of it, you don't train them.
Yeah.
And then you start like holding her feet. Like I'd have her stand and try to like hold, like I'm sure your dad did the same thing. Yeah. And then when I'd change her diapers, every time I'd move her feet, like shrimp.
Yeah.
And so
That's cool.
probably probably you've been training your whole life,
yeah,
right?
Probably, yeah.
I still can't shrimp, personally.
Yeah, he can't. He can't even triangle. It's like been
so
years,
here's the thing.
Have you trained before now?
With Ramsey.
No, don't.
Oh,
No, don't put that on me.
I could give you a couple tips if you want, but no triangle.
No, like he's the ultimate white belt. He's been training a year, and he can't even do a triangle.
Well,
like
the problem is that my legs are too big, too strong, so I can't latch it.
I'm sure there's a lot bigger, stronger legs that can triangle.
Yeah.
But you could tell when you were looking at me that I trained. You could tell. I'm like Plino or whatever his name is.
Polino?
Polino.
Oh, you know Polino?
Yeah, no.
Alex Perez coach, that
big,
the really big dude that translates.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen him when he was young? He was a monster.
No,
he was a beast. And then one time they're holding pads in our gym, and I've never seen anyone hit pads as hard as he can.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
But after he was bigger, or when he was still young?
Right now, when he's huge, he's a big old dude, and he just can throw.
Yeah.
And then even everyone's always like, "Oh shit!" And he's like, "You don't think because I'm big."
What's it like for you? Now I have to imagine that you're not at a stage anymore where you have to earn respect from men and women that come in. They're coming to learn from you. They know you're incredible. But as you were coming up, especially as a female in the sport, what was it like having to fight extra hard for the respect because you were so much better than them?
Like better than who?
Like you'd be better than all the guys in the room, but still they wouldn't have your respect until you choke them out. Was it frustrating?
Well, like growing up, it was my dad's academy,
Yeah.
So everyone respected me.
You're the
from
princess.
beginning.
Yeah.
Like,
No one's
like
gonna.
a whole bunch of uncles, like basically like the Gracie family. Like I've grown up with like Hoyler's daughters, Hickson's daughters. Like we all kind of my dad's black belt, so we all.
But could you beat their daughters or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, but we're all friends, you know.
Yeah.
And they're. I mean, we're more like dancing and partying and beach, and we'll train together too.
Yeah.
But I mean, not Kita. Kita beat me, so I lost to
really?
Kita. Yeah,
But could I beat her or no?
no, no, definitely not.
Oh wait, I'm trying to get this one girl that lives in Utah, Amy. Forget her last name, but she's like a world champ. She just won Jiu-Jitsu girl, and we're gonna try to get her on. Amy Campo.
Amy Camp. Oh yeah.
And then she lives near us, so I'm
Yeah.
like, they're gonna roll together, and I'm like, go hard, hurt
Yeah.
him, please,
Oh,
you know.
man.
She will kill him, right?
But the thing
and he
is-
doesn't think so. Like
Here's the
he
thing
saw
though.
her, she's like,
He's looking
she's
like a
small.
deliverer.
Yeah.
But with wrestling, here's what I tell you: is that there is some advantage to size. For me, I'm
sure.
240.
Yeah.
Ish, right? A little more.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I hold it well though.
Yeah, 240,
You're just
yeah,
like Paulo.
right.
You tell me you get things, but
These Brazilians are too nice to you.
there's
You know what I mean?
so much
Like,
respect. I'm telling you.
yeah, they have too much respect.
But yeah, I mean, don't you? When you're dealing with a much bigger person, what do you go for first if you're grappling, trying to submit them?
Yeah.
You go for ankles. You go for their back. What do you go?
Well, I mean, like for me in the gi, I fought Gabby Garcia. She was 240, 230.
Oh,
you know?
I saw.
Yeah,
it.
you know
I
Gabby
saw it.
Garcia.
Yeah,
Huge.
she's like bigger than Antonio. No,
Yeah.
she's tall, you know. So, but I fought her a lot of times.
And bigger Adam's apple.
Yeah, dude, yeah. She's huge, just everything, and that's like for me. I prefer guard. You know,
Yeah.
when I pulled guard, every time I pulled guard, I had a little more chance to kind of like. It's almost like it's hard to catch you. You know,
Yeah,
there's
like
too
get
much
your
space.
legs, yeah.
And when I was like, if I try to, I mean, I couldn't take her down. She would just like throw me. You know,
So-
so it was like it was better to pull guard and kind of be hiding underneath her and try
s-
to catch the back and speed and surprise.
And like
Then-
eventually get her to like pop around.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like if you're going against someone that's big and strong, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna pull my guard and play
Yeah, yeah.
guard.
Yeah.
What about, like,
unless
in a-
I feel they're really slow.
in the slow? What
Yeah.
about in like a fight? Have you ever like thought like I need to pull my guard in my fights or?
Oh yeah, like tons of times.
and that- but you usually shoot. So
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, usually I'm shooting because I'm like trying to catch the people. Like in the
Yeah.
MMA fights you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm like trying. They just hit like they touch and move. You know.
Yeah,
just,
yeah, so you're
and it's
trying to
like,
get a-
yeah, and it's not
lock
like
them
they're
down.
like really touching like with I don't know 2, 3, 4 hits. It's like one and go. You know. So
Yeah.
it's very like sometimes I'm just like let me just like grab you
Get a
and
hold
yeah
of
and do
you.
something. You know,
Yeah.
because I feel like then there's not even really a fight. you
like
know?
would you feel like confident though? Like if you were in a fight and you were on a cage just to pull someone down guard?
Yeah. But now with the judges, you know, it's like very.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the fights lately?
Oh,
Like,
of
kinda,
course. I
like,
watch every single.
What do
he
you
hasn't.
think of the Chris Curtis fight?
Chris Curtis.
He just
The other
fought-
night, Brandon Allen and Chris Curtis.
You
I
watch
didn't see it.
That's okay. It was a
No.
fight night. What'd you
Yeah,
think?
I know. I wanted to watch, but
What'd you think of Paulo's last fight with Bobby Knuckles?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I fought on the same card, so
Yeah.
you know, it was like me. I felt like I fought a striker. She did, in my opinion, and obviously more damage to my face, you know,
Yeah, 'cause
but.
it's striking.
Yeah, you're exactly. That's what I'm thinking, you know, because
Yeah.
for me to get the takedown, I kind of got to go through I
Yeah,
have to
you-
go
you
through.
have to take a
know,
hit or two.
Yeah, you have
I
to
know,
get bite
You know, so I
down.
feel kind of like it's a lot of, you know.
Trading. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like they give more to the striking than to the grappling. You know, like how much we have
Yeah.
to kind of go through just to put in our game. You know,
And I
like,
think a lot of people don't realize, or judges, like if you are winning the grappling,
Yeah.
you will win eventually the fight.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if it
most
was
likely,
never
I mean,
ending, like
yeah.
it would eventually win.
I
you
mean,
know?
if you're on the mount or something, right? It's one
Yeah.
thing like the people are getting up and defending, like
Yeah,
that's
and
good.
you're getting
Extra
tired.
points, you
Yeah.
know, they got. But if you're like finishing the rounds, like just defending yourself and.
Well, that night you fought, and then they decided to not give you, right?
Yeah,
and, then,
and it was unanimous. So I mean, it was good for me to know, you know, like okay,
Yeah.
ground I was controlling, but it wasn't as much. I should have done some more damage. You know,
Well, and then
damage,
what's his
so.
name? The yeah.
Bohashian Costa
Yeah.
and
No. But that same night
Oh.
you fought. Oh no, never mind. There was another fight that same night that was scored the opposite earlier.
Well, yeah, I thought that.
What was
like,
it?
I
It
kind
was-
of thought that Costa and Whitaker, if my fight went like that.
That's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought-
it was
I thought
kinda-
because like Costa, he kind of got, or no, Whitaker got kind of knocked
Rocked.
out,
Yeah,
he got
rocked, you
rocked.
know. So for
And he landed that spinning heel right.
Yeah, you
that
know.
was
So in
clean.
my opinion, I thought that like Bohashian Costa did like was pressuring, you know, doing like a little bit more. Or no, Whitaker was pressuring, but
Yeah.
I felt like Costa did a little bit more
Put him on
damage. You know?
skates at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like it could have gone. It could have gone either way. It was good fights, but I feel like the judges aren't being consistent. You know, that's real hard.
Well, and it's hard
very-
when you see it in the same night.
Yeah,
like,
true,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Like you're watching a fight and you're
Yeah.
like, this judge gave it to them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, this judge decided that same night. And I've been on like the end of some, you know, and no one cares. That's the hardest thing, right? Like you get done and you're like, they're like, well, here's your half your pay. And no one's like, well, it was a close fight. You should still get your full pay, you know? And that's what's kind of hard about the sport, I feel like. In jiu-jitsu, you get paid no matter what, right?
No.
No?
No. Well, I mean, the
Like,
champions. Like,
just
who
to show
wins.
up? I thought, no, okay.
Jiu-jitsu, it's like
Less money?
super less
Well,
money.
for sure.
Because I've only
more
ever done,
sponsors.
I've
More
only done like
sponsors.
jiu-jitsu
Well, because
fights.
you're allowed sponsorships.
Or
in
like
jiu-jitsu.
a super one, and so I was just paid to go and do.
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so I didn't
But they have
do-
a lot more super fights now.
Yeah,
so that's good.
That's
yeah.
good too. I never did like a tournament.
Yeah,
or
like the federation.
How
yeah.
long?
I
do
did
you-
wrestling
How long?
tournaments.
How long do you think it would take Gordon Ryan to handle Ramsey?
Gordon Ryan?
Are we talking about straight jiu-jitsu or
Straight
MMA?
jiu-jitsu.
Ooh, I don't know. We'll see. He'll be. He wouldn't be able to take me down, bro.
He's like 250. He's the greatest jiu-jitsu
I know.
fighter of
We'll
all
see.
time.
I mean, he'll get me with a heel hook eventually. But if you take out striking, yeah. I mean, I'm not a
Do you
jiu-jitsu.
think does he strike? Does
No.
he train striking?
No.
He says that he's got no hands.
No hands, no hands. And I will say that confidently. Hopefully you'll watch
Yeah,
this. 'cause I
Gordon,
know
come
I
catch
ain't
some
scared.
fade.
Come catch it.
I'm telling you, I would sponsor that fight. I would pay for that.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, I would, dude. But not like in a jiu-jitsu match. Yeah, I mean, if you can only, like, do, like, you got Bo Nichols eventually, and Bo Nichols
Yeah.
picked him up and suplexed him.
Yeah.
And if they were in a real fight and that was on concrete,
Yeah.
you know, like, I've allegedly slammed one person on concrete and it ended the fight pretty fast.
Yeah.
What?
Imagine.
So you had a very unique childhood where you were here and then back to Brazil and then back to the U.S.
Yeah, like, so I would go to Brazil every year because of my dad. So
Yeah.
like the World Championships before I came to here, it was in Brazil. So we would spend like basically summer break, 2 months in
Yeah.
Brazil every year. I would go there with him. And then I went to Brazil like officially when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Lived there, like kind of just the best lifestyle ever. My dad.
You were
basically
already
just sent me
speaking
money.
Portuguese by that point, though? You grew up with it, or you had to learn it when you went down?
No. I learned it. I basically learned it like fluently when I got my first boyfriend, Brazilian boyfriend, when I was 14. You know,
Yeah.
that was like
Yeah.
that's when it like
Had
the
to
truth.
kick in.
Like I mean, of course my dad would speak to it. My grandma didn't speak English,
Yeah.
which is alive. So like I understand it, but it was like a little bit embarrassing to me. When I was
Yeah.
a kid at school, none of the other kids spoke Portuguese. It was like
Yeah.
they'd speak Spanish. I grew up in Arizona, so
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
like
everyone speaks
Spanish and
Spanish.
English. But Portuguese, I felt like very like that's not cool. Just you speak that, Dad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's something
like
like
this obscure language.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's cool as shit because of jiu-jitsu.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was like, 10
Yeah.
and started, you're
Oh,
just
yeah.
starting to be more, you want to be cool.
I was the
Not
same
cool,
way,
but
yeah.
be more involved with your family and, and then you start interested in, I'm going to have a boyfriend, so let me speak, now all of a
whatever
sudden you're speaking like,
language.
blah, blah,
You
blah.
speak, obviously, you speak very highly of your father, right? But
Yes.
I have to imagine that at some points, if he's your coach, there were some very strained times, right? You didn't always get along, or you've always just respected the hell out of him, or because Ramsey's my coach, and he's an asshole.
I am not. He's
He's an asshole.
am
I
not.
get mad at him all the time.
I don't even
He
show up
is
to
a-
training anymore. I can't even handle it, dude.
Yeah,
I passed him
because-
off to my other trainers.
But that's
I
what
was
I'm
like, I'll
saying.
go
is
hang out with you. We're friends. But I was like, I'm not going to be your coach.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he demanded a lot, and he was harder on you because you're his daughter. Was there ever like you wanted to quit, or you didn't want to be a part of that anymore, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think like maybe one time, he would go. The hardest part was just he would always go so hard at me. You know what I mean? Like he would never give me like a single position, or submission or nothing. I
Yeah.
think the first time I submitted him was after I was a black belt.
Hell
It
yeah.
was
What'd
What'd that feel like?
it was like.
Did he go home every day and said, I'm out of here? This
Yeah.
bullshit.
That'd be a rough
I
one.
mean, he was happy, of course.
proud,
I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
man, but I mean, I caught him in like a toe hold,
yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
it was like, man, who's toe holding your dad? It was like
It was
this.
how old were you when you caught him? Like,
Yeah, I was already a black belt, so I was like
19, 20
maybe
years old.
19, 20.
Yeah.
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 So
That's
it was,
hilarious.
You probably went home just, oh my God.
and I would get like, there would be times I'd get so mad and just kind of like cry like in training, be like, man, you don't let me do any, like for me, I
Yeah.
felt like he was just using his strength and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you start to get better, brown, black, and you're like, man, you feel technically you're there, but you're not doing anything,
Yeah.
but once I'm fighting like the girls, it's just like, whoop, whoop, so much
They
easier.
feel so much
yeah,
easier. Yeah.
so it's like today I feel
grateful that you get to
Yeah,
have
it was
those-
just that kind of tough pushing.
I saw this thing, and it was talking about great especially female athletes like Serena Williams and all these other, like some other basketball players, yourself, Ronda Rousey. You see a lot of it, and a lot of people from the outside are like, wow, that's a crazy lifestyle. I can't believe they took away this. But then, like, you talk to the actual athletes, and they're like, no, I had direction my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your opinion about it? Like, do you feel like you actually had a better childhood than most people? And
when you have a child, are you going to do something differently?
Yeah, like so my daughter's 4, you know. I'm divorced.
You have a
so,
4-year-old too?
Yeah,
oh, awesome,
yeah,
me too.
Yeah, it's so sick. And so her father, like, our style, you know, parenting styles, yeah, it's so different, you know. So, like, in my mind, that idea of, you know, kind of raising the way I was raised, you know, like in the gym and training and kind of like, not that it's okay to hit, you know, like the teacher called us the other day, well, not called, but had that, you know, that Mo was doing like face-offs at school and kind of stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
And I'm kind of
like, I mean, I get it,
you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, you know, you don't want them to think that that's okay, you know, but in our culture, you know, it's like, she goes to my fights, you know, like that, she knows that it's a sport, you know, she knows
and
it's
my
job.
And they see it all the time, you know what I mean? And you watch it at home.
Yeah, and then it's all of a sudden the sign is like, no, that, you know, you're a bad parent and this and that, and you're like, this is crazy to me, you know? So, I mean, if I could, I would like to do it similar. That's even why I wanted to have kids and still be competing, you know? Because I grew up watching my dad compete. It wasn't like when he was retired and then he's just telling me what to do, and then, you know, you're like, well, you know, you don't really think that they did it, you know? You know when people do that?
Oh, yeah. I never thought my dad was as hard as he was until I like, went to the Middle East and saw where he was from. I was like, oh.
Right? My dad gets mad. He's like, she thinks I never got in fights and stuff. You know, but I always grew up watching my dad, like, make weight, you know, running, winning, losing, all this shit, competing, crying, injuries, all this things.
I've had
that's kind of cool. Like, I think because, like, myself, as, you know, with my daughter, you know, her mom's not into this world either. But for myself, I'm like, it's actually really important because I want her to see what I do. And like, it's not like I would want her to necessarily be a fighter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that's something she chose, like, I feel like, did you choose this life or was it like something like...
No, I chose it for sure.
You chose it, right? Like you were born into it.
Yes.
But then you still had the choice.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I was born in the Jiu-Jitsu lifestyle, you know, if you know the Gracies and stuff, it's like, it's a lifestyle. So like healthy, you know, working, you know, being, you know, all that stuff. But to be this fighter and like, you know, UFC my dad was against it.
I'm against it for my daughter. You too? Okay, all right.
I heard something one time, and it was talking about religion, but I mean, this is basically the same thing as a lifestyle, it's a culture. And it's, you know, people are like, well, you shouldn't teach your kids religion too young because it's, you know, it's brainwashing or whatever it is. But then somebody gave a great example. They said, you teach your child your home address, right? You teach them because you want them to know how to get home, right?
Yeah.
You want to teach them how to do this thing, and then they get to decide if they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so from a young age, you got the tools to be able to do it, and then you got to make that decision later, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel with my own kids, is I want to give them the things that I know are true and good, and then they can make those decisions for themselves. Yeah. But, I mean, that's what it feels what it's like.
Yeah, 100%, totally. And but it's so weird. It's like, man, if we had kids, we would want them to live our life. Yeah. You know, not our life. The way we believe, you know, of course that would be like, you know, if my beliefs and everything like that, I hope my daughter will follow it because that's what I'm going to teach her. Yeah. But if she decides to, I don't know, be a doctor or anything else, or, you know, I hope she stays in the values that I believe. Yeah. You know? I don't know your values and I don't know your values, but I trust in my values. I want my kid to be in my values,
the things that got you safely to where you are now, you want your kids to.
Exactly. Which kind of like, it's kind of interesting because I do a lot of women's self-defense. I used to work for a company, and we would do specifically women's self-defense. And working with a lot of them, you kind of like learn that, you know, like I grew up with all brothers as a fighter, so I've never in my head thought about women's, you know what I mean, until I had a daughter, and I was like, oh shit, and I'm teaching it, and I'm like, well, a lot of these women, a lot of the situations happen from the lack of like their confidence. And the number one thing that they say for someone that is a rape survivor, the rapist finds them off of two things: accessibility and vulnerability. So if someone's really like this and they're really scared all the time, that's a really easy target. And all we do is teach women, you know, an arm bar, and they're like, oh, I could break someone's arm with my body.
And all of them their confidence.
Yeah, and it changes everything. Or even if you just say like, oh, if you were in a fight, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, just fight for your life. And they're like, oh, I don't have to win. You know what I mean? And they're like, I can. So as you grew up, and this is what my hope for my daughters, do you feel like you had like a superpower? Like you could walk into rooms, or
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and you weren't like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like, would it be like a lot different than maybe any other girl? You're like, oh, I'm at a party, but I could beat up every boy here.
I mean, it was, those thoughts really didn't go through my mind, you know, but it was that energy, you know, you just, you know, I'd go whatever to a house party or go to travel, you know, I mean, 15, 14, I was already traveling like internationally, you know, with my dad, by myself, you know, doing these things. So it's like, you're not scared, like, man, go out in the world, you know, you're confident with what you're going to do, you know, you don't really feel like, you know, and I never had a feeling of like bullying or, you know, that someone's going to do something to me. I always felt like prepared,
I think you have a confidence about you. Like you walk into the room, you look at every one of us in the eyes. And another thing we do, so I've done this thousands of times, and we do an experiment. It's called the whiteboard experiment. And you ask, like, if there's a room full of people, you go, all right, guys, what'd you do today to not get raped? And you ask them, right? And this is why I'm actually getting into, like, Kyle, what'd you do today to not get raped?
Nothing, just walked around.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, myself included. And usually about 99% of the time, the guy's whiteboard is empty.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah, you don't even think about it. And they usually think we're joking, like, right? And then you ask the girls, and then it'll all of a sudden be like, I didn't park here. I didn't wear this. I didn't wear more makeup. I didn't go work out because I couldn't find a front row parking, and I don't want to park in the driveway. I didn't wear this. So it would literally fill up a whiteboard every single time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're on the more of the dude side where you're like, I've never even.
No.
See, that's what's crazy what jiu-jitsu can do to you.
Yeah, but it's not like because of you're not aware, you know, an awareness, but it's just, definitely.
You know, the danger's there. It's just not something you're going to change your outfit in the morning. Right? Or park somewhere different.
No.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's a great, right there, commercial why all women should do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's on the ground. Imagine, like, even just the guard, it's if someone's trying, I mean, in that position, you know? It's like, okay, armbar. That's the best thing about jiu-jitsu is, like, the element of surprise, you know? So it's just, especially with, I mean, I'm strong, you know? So, like, probably the guy isn't, if he's going to pick between me and, like, the cute little blonde, you know, girl that's, you know, not muscular and everything and looks, you know, weak in his mind. You know,
that's the accessibility.
He's gonna go for that, you know, exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not that she needs to become this athlete, you know what I mean? Or she just needs to know like simple things, a surprise that this guy is probably not gonna know how to get out of choke or armbar or something like that. Get put to sleep.
The thing is, we find out that it's actually you don't need to know that. You just need to learn it to have the confidence and then walk around with like a quiver in your arrow being like, I could do this. Whether you win or lose, I mean, that's the same thing with me. Like if I got in a street fight, like most likely I'm going to win. But if I lost, I'm like, well, go into Valhalla, you know, and have a good time.
And you wouldn't, and to be clear, you wouldn't have a quiver in your arrow. You'd have an arrow in your quiver. But anyway.
An arrow in your quiver. Yeah, he's always, hey, so I'm from an ESL home too. My dad's Arab, barely speaks English. My mom was from Spain, and so her English is always weird sayings, and he just corrects me all the time. What a
I'm trying to help him.
Fucking asshole, right?
So one of my questions, I was going through your Instagram earlier for just prepare for the podcast.
I got
one I'm gonna talk to.
Podcast preparation
too. I was like, "What are you sweating in the bathroom for?"
Podcast preparation. But so speaking of sweating, hold on. Speaking of sweating, so you've got one of those videos near the top where you're doing a weight cut, and your daughter's there. Remember you're on the bed, you're in the blankets, everything. I've long since said, so I've never had to do a weight cut.
Oh, we can't tell. Can you tell?
But what I've long since thought is that they're not that bad, and fighters complain too much about them.
Oh my gosh!
What are you?
Ask him how much money he lost not willing to lose weight.
How much money?
That was it was only 70 G's about.
Because he didn't want to lose weight.
It was a weight loss competition.
He made a bet for 70 G's, and he wouldn't even do it, dude. He was like, I was like, he was like, you want to go get steak? I'm like, aren't you in a comp? He's like, fuck it, I lost.
But what I'm saying is that, like...
So don't listen to it. It's hard as fuck.
Let me explain. I watch a lot of people. It's like, you remember that video of Cyborg, right?
Yes.
Like,
oh, yeah.
I'm like, come on. It's not... So do you agree? A lot of fighters play it up a little too much. It's not so bad. You agree?
No, it's bad.
It's the worst thing you've ever done.
Talk about weight cuts.
It makes like a grown man like be crying like a baby. You know?
Would you rather have another baby or go through that? Which one?
I mean, not a bad one. Definitely not a bad one.
What-
Like this
so-
last one I just did, that's the most I'll do.
Talk to me about.
But
what-
I'm talking about like
well,
baby
hold on,
pain,
let me ask
you
this.
know.
Talk to me
I
about
got that epidural.
Oh yeah, see, and then you can't do an epidural and
what
there's no
does
epidurals and weight cuts.
what does a bad weight cut look like, and how do you know it's gonna be bad? And I mean, how many pounds is too much? We're like, shit, I'm in trouble.
From my experience, bad weight cut is when you have more fat than you do muscle. So
Because you can squeeze the water out of the muscle, but you can't squeeze it out of fat.
And so it's like when you start to get, you feel like you start to lose weight, like by exercising, you know, like let's say the week of, or maybe like 10 days before or something, you're like, okay, it's going down. But all of a sudden the fat, it's
holds
just
on to
on
it.
you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
and it's,
do you think it's harder for females?
yeah.
Because you have more fat,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
biologically.
Your body holds on to naturally,
Water.
more.
And if you're on your period, does that affect your weight cut too?
Yeah,
Here's a question,
Totally.
and I want to go back to weight cuts, but do you fight still if you're on your period? Like, let's say
Yeah.
fight night?
Well, I mean, I don't know if some of the girls that like have pulled out, you know, because of something happened. I don't know if it's because of that, because it's scary.
Have
When
you
you're
ever
on
had
your
to?
period?
Yeah.
Have you ever had to
Could
do
you
that?
imagine? Like,
No, I've never
Because
had
you're
it.
already cramping
So
up.
I can't
You're already
imagine.
cramping
and then you
up.
punch and just,
Yeah.
It's like getting kicked in the balls right at the
I
start.
mean,
of
I've
it.
been like
Exercise is
sick
good
in a
when you're on your
fight.
period. What?
I've been sick.
Oh,
I was
dang.
puking before I fought James Krause. I was puking for like all night long, and then I woke up and I was like, "Oh fuck, man, I don't feel good."
Yeah.
And then it was rough. It was a rough
Dang.
fight.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
Yeah.
what can we kind of have put ourselves like? I fought with like a torn MCL. You know?
Ooh.
It was
Yeah.
What do
Tear
you
it worse, and then you're like, "Oh, that was a great idea."
Yeah.
what do you fight at? What do you fight at, and what do you walk around at?
So I walk around at like 132, and then I fight 115.
That's not that bad. That's
Yeah.
17 pounds.
It's a
Yeah.
lot for a woman though. That's equivalent to like 30 for a
Because
dude.
Drickus drops 40.
That's about equivalent.
Paulo drops 40.
Yeah, that's
But
what I'm saying though. They're bigger. And they
Yeah,
have
a lot
more
of
muscle.
muscle.
But
a lot of muscle
how long
mass.
how long do you think they take to go down? Like I'll go down. I'll get down to like 125 during my camp in 2 months.
Just
2 months
natural
camp.
weight loss.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
around 7 pounds. Yeah,
Okay.
like 132 is like me training but eating normal.
Yeah.
You know,
I
not
think
like
they're doing
following anything.
20
specific.
pounds of water, 15.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But they're big dudes. They're 200 pounds, so they
Yeah.
have a lot more
Yeah,
water in them.
yeah.
And then females, their weight cut is a lot like more intense, just because boobs are fat, butt is all fat, hips all fat, and their bones are just naturally lighter. So there's a lot more like just
Yeah.
harder for them to get water off.
What
I put like silicone, you know, and that I know that's weight too. That doesn't
silicone? What on your boobs?
yeah,
boobs.
boobs,
up?
yeah. So that's
And
like
that's a little bit more weight.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
that was like a couple more weight. You know, that's
Well,
gonna
why
stay
don't
there
before
forever,
the
you know?
fight? Why don't you just like pull, like extract it?
You know, when I was a
Doesn't matter,
kid,
oh my God.
when
sit
I was
there
a
every
kid,
time?
I
Can we
have
take stop
skinny
it?
calves, and I remember everyone always made fun of me, and I always wanted big calves, and I'd do all the calf machines,
Those are
try to
hard
get
to
him.
work out.
And then I remember I was like, I saw this thing on like MTV about calf implants, and I was like, huh. And I was like, how much do they weigh? And it was like a pound. I was like, fuck. I was
can't
like,
do it to
wrestling. I was like, I don't want to cut that weight, dude. So I never got him.
I actually heard someone went to like Mexico do like a calf implant, and
Yeah.
then the guy woke up and it was like they had put it in
In his
boob.
tits.
Yeah.
So my wife also got her boobs done, right? And she's super sensitive. Like if I punch her, you know, if she melts off a little. I'm just kidding.
I'm like all scared to be like politically correct.
Yeah.
But like, if she bumps into something, it's really painful. As a fighter, is it painful? Like worse?
I haven't had any incident with that yet.
Don't they pop sometimes? Would that ever be scary?
I don't know. I mean, like for the commercial woman, not the commercial, but like my doctor did it. She like said that the truck, like a big delivery truck, you know, can drive
Run
it. And no, not running. But like then you're dead. Yeah. But your
Tits are
good.
still there. She's like, you dead, but it can ride over you.
Yeah, like it could. No. Well, I mean, it could drive. Like they did test driving over the implant on the ground. not on
Oh,
purpose.
okay.
But and it didn't pop. You know.
It did
so,
it. Nice.
so that was.
Did
But
what I,
That's like the
My calves popped, so they're back to skin.
what I've noticed about you, Mackenzie, is that one. I mean, and this is what I notice about anytime we get fighters in here, but you're just genuinely a nice and happy person. do you feel like you've missed out on some opportunities by not being more of a shit talker to people? By not, if you had shit talked some of the bigger fighters, you would have got, like Chael Sonnen, he got fights that he never should have gotten because he was talking shit, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like...
Started calling us American animals.
Yeah.
Do you feel
I
like
want to fight those American animals.
Do you feel like why didn't you talk a little more shit in press conferences and call out your opponents?
Oh my God! Have you heard me try and talk like shit?
Is
this not good?
You struggle. You gotta get a writer.
Like I think the worst I did. It's just in jiu-jitsu. It's so hard.
So respectful.
Yeah,
too.
so respectful.
Yeah.
It's like we shake your hand
dab up
before when
yeah.
you leave. Every single training. It's like you beat the person one week and the next week and you're at another open. That's another. You fight the same person. You fight them in the weight division.
Jiu-jitsu
Fight
is
them
even more than wrestling. Like I grew up wrestling. Wrestling, you're like, Jiu-jitsu people are just more like they went. You're like, hey, good job,
yeah,
bro.
it's like you fight the same people so many times, so it's like a win or lose doesn't really there's no you can't really trash talk because you're gonna probably fight them 10 more times. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like and so I don't know. I honestly I feel like that my personality in because really all of us fighters we're characters. That's basically we're like WWE, but like real, know.
Yeah.
And so we all, if you look at like Sugar and Alderman and all like Bohashi, and we all have our own personalities, and we really just. So I feel like my personality just kind of the way my dad raised me and everything. I felt like it helped me so much because when I go into fight, it's like really hard for you to try and punch someone that you like. You know?
Yeah.
And like even punch, but to really hurt them and elbow them and I can do that, I'm okay with trying to hurt you and then we're friends after. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I feel like the girls shake my hand and they kind of want to be mean and then they're like, oh man, I really like Mackenzie, she's so respectful, and then all of a sudden I'm trying to punch them really hard and
what the heck? Who was the meanest to you and who was the nicest to you?
Let me see. The nicest I think was probably Nina Amanda Nunes' wife, And I don't know if that's because of what, when we fought, she was her first fight back after her pregnancy, and I had just come back after mine, so it's we kind of really, I don't know,
bonded
I knew what
on
she was,
that.
I knew what she was going through to get back in there, and I feel like she said that she had saw me come back, and so she was like, yeah, I'm totally gonna come back too, So I think we had just had that. She's nice, and then the meanest.
Come on. Call that bitch out.
I know. Let me see. I think the meanest is probably dang. I mean, Jessica Andrade, she's the nicest person, but she knocked me down and out 4 times in one fight.
Yeah,
I don't
she's
think that's
got
ever,
power.
I don't think that's ever.
Yeah, I remember that one. That's a rough.
I don't know if that was I don't know who the commentator was, but they're I don't think this has ever happened in a strawweight fight before. The person get knocked down so many times.
I remember watching that and I was like, no.
I don't think I could completely recover each time. So each time, and then
just beating up a concussed person.
She was smart,
She's probably the hardest you've ever been hit.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. It was hers. It didn't hurt,
Because it's so hard.
Yeah, I just got I would kept getting turned off,
Turn the lights off and on.
Like Amanda now Lemos that I fought that I fell down, but I didn't fall down because I was dizzy, I fell down because I had felt I broke my orbital, so it was just so much pain at the time, and I just it was momentum. I was just kind of I need to protect this, and I just kind of covered my face for a couple minutes. Well, not a couple minutes.
Is that the hardest punch you think you've ever taken?
That one, and then Yon Shannon, who's fighting this week.
Well, so is Andrade is fighting at 300, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, but Yon,
what you gotta do with Andrade? What I would do is just like Masvidal with Covington. You gotta catch her outside the club when she's not looking, and give her one when she's not looking. Sucker punch.
Cook, you think?
Yeah, sucker punch.
When she's eating dinner,
from behind.
Remember when Masvidal did it to Covington?
Yeah.
Just come up, punch a tooth
knock
out.
a tooth out and run.
Yeah,
that's the move.
Tooth out and run.
And she's the sweetest person. And, we're talking before the fight, we're talking after. It's we're talking all the time. So it was for me that was I think. But she really put it on me, and she was so smart. Amanda, she came into I fell down and she wanted to finish it,
Yeah.
So that could have been mean, I guess you could say me, she really wanted to get the ground and pound, but it was kind of not the smartest thing because then we're on the ground.
Yeah, and then you started controlling.
And then Jessica was she knocked me down and then she get me back up. So it was just kind of a long beating kind of thing.
I don't want to stand up.
It's smarter. It's a
smarter.
smarter.
It was really a way to not
how
give
much.
A chance.
And this is I've always kind of wondered for I mean, Ramsey, you could answer this too, is how much, once you're getting, Mike Tyson, his famous quote is everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face, right?
Yeah.
When you are taking hits like that, how much of your plan just goes out and now you're in survival mode of just, I'm trying to get him to the ground, or can you hear your coaches when you're getting an ass whipping in there?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah, I can. Like, at least for me, I'm very, like, forward, so I'm very, like, adrenaline. Like, I'll get punched, and then I just want to, go at it, so, like.
You see red, that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's how I fight.
That's basically what it is,
Yeah,
like,
me too.
And the idea is kind of like that you train so much that when you do see
Just a
red,
reflex.
it's naturally kind of more technical,
Yeah.
That's the idea, but it's not
Yeah,
that
me
you're
too,
really
me too. I'm
thinking
very
that-
technical.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think,
I see
like,
that.
towards when I realized I was done, towards my end of my career, I've just felt nothing. I was just out there. If I got hit hard, I was just like, all right. And then I'd hit him hard. I was like, maybe I don't feel anything. I'm dead inside.
Yeah, oh, man.
I was like, maybe just stop.
That's how I feel about my relationships with people now. So I
Yeah.
just don't
That's how I
feel
feel
anything.
about most shit, dude. Like, most of the time, I'm like,
Okay,
I'm
we don't
either
want
dead
therapy session
inside,
now, Ramsey.
Let's get into this.
Mackenzie's like, damn, are you guys okay?
Yeah, we're dark. Yeah. Mackenzie seems light, help us.
Here's a
Life,
question.
though.
I'm one of the. I mean, I'm an old school fighter. We were talking about this before. Like, I'm from the same era that was fizzling out with your dad.
Yeah.
It wasn't popular. Yeah. We just wanted to fucking hurt people.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get in the cage every weekend.
Yeah.
And you would go to tournaments if you could and be like, "Who wants to fight? All right, you want to fight?" And you just fight people.
Yeah,
Just because it was
yeah.
just fun,
No, I mean, this last fight, like, I've had a lot of fans and stuff. I mean, I had a lot of, like, girls and stuff like that. And I felt like I had a lot of fans of the guys, in UFC. But a lot because of my looks,
For your fighting ability only.
For your fighting
So,
ability.
like, after the UFC 298, I swear, I think it was just, like, the picture of my butt. Like, like
yeah,
a heart.
yeah.
Like, I was like,
All I'll tell you, and the thing is, I have that sweater, and I didn't wear it out of respect.
Yeah.
but like that was probably one of my hardest fights where I got the most because I'm a girl, so like I bit my heart up, but I still feel like, man, that's how I look, like
Yeah.
it's not. I don't like to look at myself like that.
Can I at least say I was a fan because you're Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, me too.
No, he didn't even know.
I'm telling you, I didn't even see
And you
anything
being
until
beautiful just happens to be a bonus, okay?
No, I didn't.
That's
I
just a
didn't-
bonus
I
on
don't see
it.
that kind of. I only see, for me, as a casual fan, I'm a big fan of ground game. I don't even like striking.
Yeah, right. He's like,
I
we're
hope
at the
it- I
fights.
hope
He's
it
like,
stays on
stand
the
him
ground.
up.
They go to the ground, stand them up. Woo!
Yeah, that's it.
the one-
Swear to God,
yeah.
like people in the stands try to fight him, and then they're like, "Why are you with this guy, man?" I'm like, "Sorry, man. Like, leave him alone."
It's because he bought the tickets. So
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah, I got a foot out, so
Well, cool. Tell us. We're getting here to the close to the end, but tell us who you want next, Mackenzie. Who do you need to put an ass whipping
In
on?
your perfect world, what's next for you?
My perfect world would be Vienna Jiu-Jitsu.
Tell us why, and tell us how you whip her ass.
I mean, I think I'd beat her like striking. I think I'd beat her on the ground, But I fought her before I won. But man, she broke my nose. It was kind of like a fight where some people thought that she could have won because it went back and forth. And she's number 5 in the rank. She beat. She just came back, so she's a spot where I want.
Yeah,
honestly,
take it.
That's a great fight. You beat
that's
her.
the spot that I want.
You're top 10.
And I've been fighting like I've been fighting like these hard hitting strikers, So I'm kind of like wanting to fight a grappler. You know what I mean? I'm
Was
kinda
your
like-
dream fight a grappler?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I feel I can just
You
kind
could
of
be a
like
grappler.
I don't need to be so strategic, I
Yeah.
can kind of just like let loose and let my striking go and let my grappling go and
Have
just-
more fun.
Yeah, and just kind of work,
Okay, I have 2 questions, and then I'm so happy. This has been so fun. One, I've been too afraid to ask him, but what does Borrachina mean for Paulo? His
Borrachina.
Yeah, Borrachina. What does it mean? It means like drunkard or no?
No.
Because in Spanish, borracho or whatever is like a drunk.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
And so I thought that was his nickname because he drank the wine before Izzy.
Oh, yeah.
But what does tell us what that nickname means?
Borrachina is like a small eraser. Eraser for the pencil.
Really?
Yeah,
eraser.
why
is
does
that
he
his
have that
nickname?
name?
I don't know, porque he knows, bro. Por que o apelido dele é Borrachinha? Hã?
O irmão é borracha.
E por quê?
Porque o irmão é borracha.
Mas por que o irmão dele é borracha?
Porque é muito flexível. Jiu-jitsu, aluno de cadeirinha.
Okay, so because his oldest brother's name is Eraser, Big Eraser.
Yeah, and his older brother's good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and like flexible, like kind of like
Yeah.
a.
Flexible. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, so he just got the nickname because of his older brother.
And so now I have another question before my last one.
That's like my little brother. He always had to be like my little brother. So now he's always like, fuck you. Like at wrestling, everything, you know.
What does potan mean?
Pota é o quê? Pota é chief, né? It's like é o chefe. É o chief dos índios, né? Yeah, like the
a
chief.
war chief.
Yeah, like a Indian chief.
Okay.
You know, like the Indians,
Native,
like Pocahontas. And the chief. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, native like
Stonehands.
And then my last question is, in the UFC, if you could make my ego a little bit, tell me one girl in the UFC that you think I could beat. Who could I beat in the UFC? One girl.
Nah.
When you look at one girl I could beat.
No.
Bottom 20?
At what?
UFC, MMA.
MMA?
MMA.
One girl.
No.
Dana White's Contender Series?
One day when you're just feeling like beating up a nerd, just let us know, and I want you to beat him up. We'll record it. He'll go viral. It'll be like the Sean Strickland Sneeko thing.
You'll be
He's Sneeko, and he's gonna be like, just Sean Strickland his ass, will you?
That puts you in a bad position, guys. You guys need to do like a challenge. Be like,
The thing is, you don't
a
want
nerd challenge for Mackenzie.
He's challenging.
All I'm saying, Mackenzie, is that you don't want the smoke, okay?
Oh my god.
Okay, but Mackenzie,
he throws up in class, dude. Like, you know, in jiu-jitsu class when you do like position fighting for about 10 minutes before the live rolls, barely makes it through position fighting. He's in the toilet puking.
It's a lot of work. But here's what I'll say, Mackenzie. We're incredibly grateful. We got to get you out to Utah sometime. We'll show you. We'll bring you to the gym, but you're incredibly fun. I'm not even going to ask where to find you on Instagram. Everybody knows where to find you. We're so grateful to have you, and we can't wait for your next fight.
You have any sponsors you want to shout out?
Shout out some sponsors and your coaches.
No, just everyone knows, my dad, the most important.
Say his name. We haven't even said his name. What's your dad's name?
Megaton Diaz. Not Megatron, Megaton.
Megaton Diaz.
Yeah, Arizona. And just thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you for coming.
Fun
Guys, thanks for tuning in to Mackenzie Dern. It has been incredibly fun. Watch her whip some ass next time. Here we go. Thanks for tuning into The Coach and the Casual. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and share it with your friends. Thanks again.